Have you ever wondered about the full story of Noah's Ark? It's one of the most famous tales ever told, but there's so much more to it than just a big boat and a lot of animals. Today, we're diving deep into the complete story of Noah's Ark, exploring its context, its meaning, and the incredible details you might have missed. Let's start at the very beginning, in a world that was very different from ours. The book of Genesis tells us that humanity had grown incredibly corrupt. The earth was filled with violence and wickedness, and people had turned away from their Creator. It says that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. Imagine that. God looked upon the world He had made and was grieved. His heart was filled with pain. It was a world spiraling out of control, a beautiful creation marred by darkness. But in the midst of all this chaos, there was one man who stood out. His name was Noah. Genesis describes him as a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. Noah wasn't perfect, but in a world that had forgotten its way, he held on to his faith. He was a beacon of light in a very dark time. And because of this, God chose Noah for an incredible, world-changing task. God came to Noah with a startling message. He revealed his plan to bring a great flood to wipe the slate clean, to wash away the corruption that had consumed the earth. But he also offered a path to salvation. He commanded Noah to build a massive vessel, an ark, and the instructions were incredibly specific. God told Noah to build the ark out of cypress wood and to coat it inside and out with pitch to make it waterproof. The dimensions were staggering: 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. A cubit is an ancient measurement, roughly the length from an elbow to the tip of the middle finger, about 18 inches. So, in modern terms, the ark would have been about 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. That's 1.5 football fields long and over 4 stories tall. It was to have lower, middle, and upper decks, a roof, and a door in its side. This wasn't just a boat. It was a colossal floating sanctuary, an architectural marvel for its time. But the ark wasn't just for Noah and his family. God's plan was to preserve life. He instructed Noah to bring his wife, his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives into the ark. 8 people in total. And then came the most famous part of the instruction. He was to bring animals. 2 of every kind of living creature, male and female, to keep them alive. For the clean animals, the ones suitable for sacrifice, and for all the birds, he was to take 7 pairs of each. This was a monumental task of gathering and logistics. Can you imagine the scene? People likely mocked Noah, building this giant boat on dry land, far from any sea, talking about a flood that had never been seen before. It took immense faith and perseverance for Noah and his family to continue their work year after year in the face of ridicule. For decades, Noah labored. He built the ark exactly as God commanded, all while preaching to the people around him, warning them of the coming judgment and offering them a chance to repent. But nobody listened. They continued in their ways, oblivious to the impending disaster. Finally, the day came. The ark was finished. God gave the final command. Go into the ark, you and your whole family, because I have found you righteous in this generation. And then, the animals began to arrive, not by Noah's effort alone, but as if guided by an unseen hand. Creatures of all shapes and sizes, from the largest elephants to the smallest insects, made their way to the ark. It must have been an awe-inspiring sight. Once Noah, his family, and all the animals were safely inside, Genesis tells us something profound. Then the Lord shut him in. It wasn't Noah who closed the door. It was God himself, sealing them in safety. 7 days later, it began. The springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened. It wasn't just rain. Water gushed from the earth and poured from the sky. For 40 days and 40 nights, the rain fell relentlessly. The waters rose, lifting the massive ark from the ground. It floated on the surface of a worldwide ocean that covered everything, even the highest mountains. Everything on dry land that had the breath of life in its nostrils died. The world that was gone. Inside the ark, 8 people and a world of animals floated in their temporary home, surrounded by the waters of judgment. What must that have been like? The sounds, the rocking of the waves, the isolation. It was a time of waiting, of trusting in God's promise that they would be safe. For 150 days, the water covered the earth. It was a total reset, a cleansing of the world. Then, Genesis says, "But God remembered Noah. He sent a wind to sweep over the earth, and the waters began to recede. The springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens were closed, and the rain stopped. Slowly, painstakingly, the water level dropped. On the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. But they couldn't leave just yet. They had to wait for the earth to become dry enough to support life again. Noah waited. After 40 days, he opened a window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven, which kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove couldn't find anywhere to perch, so it returned to the ark. Noah waited another 7 days and sent the dove out again. This time, it returned in the evening with a freshly plucked olive leaf in its beak. This was the sign they had been waiting for. It was proof that life was returning to the earth. The olive branch has since become a universal symbol of peace and new beginnings. Noah waited another 7 days and sent the dove out once more. This time, it did not return. The earth was finally ready. More than a year after they had first entered the ark, God spoke to Noah again. "Come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number on it." So Noah and his family and all the animals came out of the ark into a clean, new world. What a moment that must have been. The first steps onto solid ground, the fresh air, the sight of a world washed clean. Noah's first act was one of gratitude and worship. He built an altar and, taking some of all the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. The aroma of the offering pleased God, and he made a promise, a covenant, not just with Noah, but with all of humanity and every living creature for all generations to come. God promised that never again would he curse the ground because of humans, and never again would he destroy all living creatures with a flood. As long as the earth endures, he said, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease. To seal this everlasting covenant, God set a sign in the sky, the rainbow. He said, "Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant." So every time we see a rainbow, it's a beautiful reminder of God's promise, a symbol of hope, faithfulness, and the new beginning he gave the world. The story of Noah's Ark is so much more than a children's tale. It's a powerful story about judgment and mercy, about destruction and salvation. It's about the consequences of human corruption, but also about the incredible grace of a God who provides a way out. It's a story of one family's unwavering faith in the face of a skeptical world, and a testament to the idea that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for a new beginning. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the story of Noah's Arkansas. If you found this fascinating, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more explained stories. Let me know in the comments what you think is the most powerful part of this story. See you in the next video.